Is that Anthony?
Yes, it is.
All right, let's go to the hotline and welcome to the show for the first time. You know him from his days in the Opie and Anthony show, Anthony Cumia. How are you, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing? Is this your first interview of the day, or are you like having to do 10 radio interviews in a row?
No, it's my first one. Yeah, and I'm rarely up at this hour.
Why would you be if you're rich? We all have this. You're the Northeast Dan Bilzerian to me. Like, I've been watching since you built the compound. Then you're flying. You had a drone before anybody had drones. You got some sort of weird cat tiger living in your house.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, it's since I don't have to do the show until 4 p.m., I usually get up really late. I figured it out. I said all those years of getting up early and the construction and then doing morning radio, which is just a terrible lifestyle.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, I'm done with that. I'm doing 4 to 6, 2 hours, 4 days a week. I want a permanent 3-day weekend. That's it. That's permanent.
Listen, can I tell you, you've earned it, and financially, if you can live like that, then of course that's what you want to do. Can I tell you the day I was in New York? I wish I could remember the year. It was before I was married, so it had to be more than 15 years ago. And we got off the plane, and we were driving in from LaGuardia Airport, and I put on the Opie and Anthony show, and it was before a holiday weekend, but like maybe Veterans Weekend or something. You guys had a 3-day weekend, and they go, and it was a recorded promo, and the promo goes, now Opie and Anthony Veterans Day message, and you guys were like, yeah, we're off, and we'll be back Monday, and then you were like, yeah, so all right then. And then the thing went, Opie and Anthony. And my wife goes, what was that? I go, that was 2 rich guys is what that was. That's how that works out. I'm telling you, and listen, I don't know if you know how far back our ties go together. So I never lived in New York while the show was on. I lived in Florida, and I was doing radio when you guys were in New York, successfully doing radio. And my first time seeing you was a momentous day. I was in the building the day that Al Dukes destroyed your foosball table.
Wow.
So
that, yeah.
Now, Opie and Anthony were on in the afternoons, and then Ron and Fez came on afterwards, and Al Dukes was their producer.
Right. And
I went by to hang out on the show, and Al got really drunk, made out with a dude. And then, and so now, then they also we have a lady called Crazy Patty that calls this show, but they had an original Crazy Patty.
Right.
And she got kicked out of Soccer Patty, and she got kicked out of her house for some reason. And they would say, "Oh, Patty could live here at the radio station." And I didn't get to hear the show a lot. This is before really like iHeart and all that stuff. And then I went there, and I went over to the vending machine, and she was sleeping under the goddamn stairs. She really lived at the radio station.
Yeah, we figured it's not our house, so why not? Let a homeless woman live under the stairs at the station. And at that point, they were letting us do whatever the hell we wanted.
That must have been such great freedom.
Crazy. It was crazy over there, and it was traditional FM radio. It wasn't the satellite or the internet. It was regular radio, and we were doing things that you couldn't get away with on satellite and on some digital platforms right now. It was.
You were doing things that I can't explain to my audience right now.
Yeah, that's exactly.
They were doing things with wiffle ball bats and girls that I can't explain any more detail than that. And
you couldn't explain it.
Yeah. And it was fantastic. I have to tell you, one of the things that I thought was the uncomfortableness of the show was always what I thought was brilliant. My old friend and agent used to tell me that the only way you're going to win is to be fearless. And you guys had no fear whatsoever. Like, you did not care if you were, obviously you didn't want to get fired, but you didn't care what celebrity hated you. You didn't care who left crying. that one of the things that sticks out the most in my memory was explain to everybody who's never heard you guys before when you had the chicken from Laverne and Shirley. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Not Laverne,
Cindy
the
Williams.
other one, Cindy Williams.
Yeah.
Shirley was in. Cindy Williams. She wasn't in. We had her on the phone, and we used to do a segment called Has Been Corner. And it was, but we wouldn't tell the guests. That's why they were on. We got like really bad guests because Howard Stern got all the good guests and pretty much put the hammer down and said we couldn't have the same guests he was getting, and it was really stupid. But yeah, that's what he was doing. So we would get a lot of local comics, which turned out to be a great thing. We got like some of the greatest comics ever, and these terrible has-been TV stars. So we had to make something of it. We weren't going to actually sit there and be excited that we were interviewing Shirley, Vernon Shirley. So we made up these little segments, and it was Has Been Corner, and she was on, and we would kind of let them know that they were on Has Been Corner as the interview went on. And it was so sad. They would feel really bad about it. And we didn't care right up until the show was over.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care what was going on when the show was on for 4 hours. The second I would take that walk to the parking garage, I just felt like a real piece of garbage, just terrible about some of the stuff we did. But, it went away.
There is nothing I won't do while we're on the air. If we're on the air, I'll say anything to anybody, do anything. Like my mother tries to ask me about stuff that I've talked about on the air. I go, I don't know, call the show if you want to talk. I can't talk to you about it now. On the air, I'll say whatever I want to say. It's a disease.
Yeah, it really is. I think that that's what makes you successful or good or, compelling is that ability to just say whatever, anything.
Yeah.
And the slow news days are those days that you open up and talk about your life and just expose stuff that you would never tell anybody. And that's I guess that's that illness that makes a good radio personality.
You know what, though? And that's people love the honesty, and that's certainly what works. This is Anthony Cumia. Anthony's got a book called Permanently Suspended. He was doing great on FM. They had we had Paul Mercurio in here last year, and he gave us the Sex for Sam story from his point of view, which I thought was great. I had never really heard it that way before. And with Sex for Sam, with the firing in that situation, kind of like, look, the whole Janet Jackson thing and the times were changing. Do you think they were like, we need something to get rid of these guys and change that station?
If it was anything else, I might agree with that, yeah. But, it was sex in St. Patrick's.
I guess so.
I think even if they wanted to hang on to us, it was over. That was really bad.
And nobody goes into before the meeting and goes, this might not work. Like, wasn't it one guy in your show that's got to be that guy that goes, hey, guys, we might want to think about this?
Yeah, no, that was never a thing. Whenever management or anybody would try to put the kibosh on something we were doing, an event or a stunt or something, we would get mad. We'd be like, no, it's that never-ending cycle of trying to top yourself as, a shock jock back in the day. You had to do something. It became an obsession to do something that's bigger and better or worse than the previous thing you did. And the audience loved it. And management loved it, They'd pat you on the back.
Sure.
What a great job you were doing. And then in public, they'd be like, well, now these wild guys, we got to suspend them or calm them down or something. And meanwhile, they loved the fact that the ratings were up. right up until you do that one thing that's over the line, and then they're like, oh, I can't believe what they did.
Yeah.
I can't believe what we did. We did exactly what you hired us for and what we were doing for years before. And then all of a sudden they get this morality and ethics one day and decide to throw you to the curb.
What's worse than being shock jock? I mean, I don't know. I guess back then you guys can be called shock jocks, but now you really got to kill somebody in the studio before you're a shock jock.
Yeah.
Like people say that to me, I'm like, we haven't done anything shocking ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that rhymed, so people use it. And then also, you had Opie, so people, I love when the news is like, Opie and Dopey. Oh, like they all made that up.
That's as good as Saturday Night Live Dead or Saturday Night Dead.
I actually, that was a headline on the New York Post, and I saw it driving home after we were fired, and I saw Opie and Dopey, and it was in a windshield of a city bus, kind of driving down the street, and I saw it, and I was like, oh God, I'm dopey. Dopey. It was so depressing.
So a couple of years ago on this radio station, we had a segment called Retarded News. And it was basically when Galvin first started here, he came from another radio station. He goes, I do this thing. It's like stupid news stories, but it's not like, like they were really like, they were mostly sexually stories and they were funny. And I was like, let's call it Retarded News. So it's like a little bit more than stupid news. This is years and years ago. And then somebody in a web department took a picture off of Google of an actual kid with Down syndrome and used that on the website. Now we had, we had stopped. We had when the R word started becoming the R word, we were like, hey, I got a letter from a mother one time of a kid with special needs, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's about time we stopped saying that, and we stopped it. And then I got a fight, and then I got a fight with Linda Blair. And she could have been on Has Been Corner one time.
Right?
Yeah.
And she alerted all of her dog loving fans around the world against me. And somebody uncovered that picture and brought it up. And so management here is like, listen, we know this doesn't have anything to do with you. You're fine, but we have to deal with it. I was like, okay, let me know what you need from me. And I'm like, all right, I'm fine. So next day I'm at the gym. And I'm listening to you two jerk-offs talk about me. I'm at the gym. I'm loving life. I'm like, I'm going to be fine. And then you and Opie are like, listen, Cowhead, we like you. Were you getting fired today? And I'm like, no.
I remember it was Anthony just kept on going, you're fired. You're getting fired.
And you go, let me tell you how this is going to go. They're going to call you up and go, don't worry, buddy. We got your back. And I'm like, check. And then you're gonna get a call that says, can you come in a little bit before your show so we could talk about how we're gonna handle this? I'm like, check. Then they're gonna say, hey buddy, we love you, we did all we could, but we're gonna have to let you go. And I was like, oh God, I'm getting fired today. I stepped off the treadmill and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, this is terrible. I mean, and it wasn't like in passing. You went on for like a half hour, and I all of a sudden I left the gym with this big empty feeling in my stomach. Drove home, and I was like, oh, I'll miss you, house.
Oh man, that is awful.
Yeah, it was like part of me was like, oh good, they're talking about me. Oh God, this is terrible, terrible.
Oh, that is awful, man. Yeah, that was the cycle we went through.
Yep.
So I thought it would happen. But you're lucky if you get a station management or what have you that actually does support you. Wow.
Yeah, I listen. That's one thing I can never complain about this company and the people that work here is they really are supportive of the show in the good times and the bad times. Do you remember the first time I ever called the show? I may be able to refresh your memory. I doubt you remember. So you had been fired from CBS, and then you went to XM when it was just XM, and I was working for CBS doing mornings at the time. And I find that now I'm on a country station. They own 2 country stations in the market, and there's a third one that Clear Channel owned. And I'm on, and they hire a new general manager to take over the station. And my agent called me and he goes, "You're going to get fired." And I go, "Oh, really?" And he goes, "This guy has a history of launching Spanish-speaking stations." And I go, "Oh God!" Damn. And they're like, and he was a funeral director, and they just hired him away from being a funeral director. He goes, so basically, they need his expertise. And I was like, "God!" So I went to management. I asked them, I'm like, "What's the deal? I just signed the new contract," and they were like, "No." And then I found out for sure it was happening. So every day I would do something to bust their balls. One day I just had them bring animals in the studio. We brought donkeys and goats in. Then the next day I used Google Translate, and I would just speak Spanish during my show to try and do it, like just busting their ball. I knew I was getting fired. And then on the third day, I called into you guys' show. I made my producer went on hold for a half hour, and then it was the first time you guys were back on CBS radio while we were getting fired, and you were doing the golden tickets where you were trying to find other shows to be on the station.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I didn't care about the golden ticket, but I wanted to make CBS mad. And I knew putting you guys on the air would be the best possible thing that would do that.
Yeah, that would do it.
Success! I was fired the next day.
Wow, boy, you called it.
Yeah, well, it was good. I knew it was coming. So
rare.
That's what I said. Rarely do you get to say goodbye to your audience. You know it's coming. So I was like, might as well go out in flames. Yeah. And then I'd been up there one time. I'd been on the show, and then the next time I was on with you was I got a call after Bubba tried to call in here and take me on, and I completely bitch slapped him. And then I got a call from Anthony's people, and Anthony's like, Anthony would like you to come on the show today. He said it's the best goddamn thing he's seen on YouTube all week. I was like, absolutely.
Oh my God, yeah, radio battles.
I mean, in your case, you guys didn't compete with Howard because your time slots were different, but because he had such a hold and he was so insecure about your success, he did everything he could to keep you guys down. And really, as a guy who was a lifelong fan of his, your stories about that were the first things to kind of dent his reputation to me and make me realize who he really was.
Yeah, it was pretty strange, and we knew that was kind of the way to deal with Howard. I've said it before. You don't come into New York and tell people, "Yeah, he sucks. Listen to us." They'd be like, "No, you suck. We've been listening to him for years." So to just kind of chip away at his whatever credibility he had and goof on him, make it funny. And do it in a way that was coming from a fan, because I was a fan for many years, and it seemed to work. I think he was nervous that we would have gone to Clear Channel, another company, doing mornings, and then have to compete against them. So we just kind of wanted to keep us in check. So if that ever happened, we were already damaged by him some way.
Why didn't that ever happen? You think? Why didn't some other companies say, "Hey, he can't have the whole pie. These guys will cut at least half of that pie up"? Why didn't you guys end up ever getting to do that?
Yeah, we were offered that quite a few times, and then CBS just came back with giant paychecks. Yeah,
you guys really did. You guys really raised the bar at the time when I was in contract negotiations. Everybody go, "We're not going to pay you $150,000." I'm like, Opie Anthony's got $4 million each. Yeah. Of course you will.
Yeah, it was. They didn't want us to go to Clear Channel and do mornings against Howard, so that's what they did, and they locked us up. And that's why when we got fired for the Sex for Sam thing at St. Pat's, they kept paying us. We had 2 years left on our contract. Oof. It was the biggest contract we had ever signed. And they just kept us and kept paying us and said, "Well, you're not working anywhere. We're going to pay you for 2 years. Now, sit and here's a lot of money, and you have nothing to do for 2 years. So go to Atlantis and the Bahamas and travel around, have fun. And
so let me
radio control helicopters."
How much can you? I don't know how much you want to say, but how much? Like we heard, it was like $4 million each.
Yeah,
more or less.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay, so
a lot of money.
So when I got fired from CBS, I was not making anywhere close to that. And I had another year to sit home while they paid me. And all I did was get fat and lose money on online poker. Because I could I could not enjoy my life knowing that I didn't know what my next move was going to be. But if I was getting $4 million a year, I might be like, well, maybe we'll go to Atlantis.
Yeah, but there was still that thing. Like, we didn't want to stop doing radio. You know, even with all that money, you still want to do radio. It's fun. It's like what we do, and we were stuck. It's not as bad being stuck with all that money.
Yeah,
but still, you know, that audience is it can be fickle. So you know, you want to stay on the air. And back then, there wasn't, you know, a big internet presence. You couldn't satisfy the fans in some other way by streaming something or even having a social media presence. There was nothing. So you just disappeared and people forgot about you. So when we got back on satellite radio, it was depressing. You know, be looking around at the those little shark fin antennas that satellite used to put on cars, and we would look and go, "Oh, there's one."
Yeah,
and then we realized when we got on that we had no audience.
The audience that is there now for satellite radio is a combination of the two companies. When they were on, they were just on XM. And Sirius didn't have 200,000 subscribers, and you guys probably had a larger Cum audience in New York alone than the satellite had, you know, all together around the country, and that does it has to be very depressing. But you have loyal fans, and they eventually found you. And the one thing I always love about you satellite effers is that you're like, oh. Once you go to satellite, you're like, satellite's great. We can curse and do whatever we want. Terrestrial radio is dead and blah, blah, blah. And then the minute you bitches get a chance to come back on terrestrial, you're like, all right, we'll take that gig. Yeah. We'll go back in a second. I was like, you just saying how it's dead all this time. And then all of a sudden, boom, everybody right back.
Right back. Yeah. There's a lot of BSing in radio.
This is Anthony Cumia. You know him best from Opie and Anthony. He does his own show for 2 goddamn hours a day. What is the best place for them to find that? What do they search? I don't even know how to. I just Google your name.
Yeah, you just go to Compound Media, compoundmedia.com, and you're there. There's plenty of shows. And it's 100% open. I mean, total absolutist First Amendment.
Yeah.
There are some things that go on Compound Media that I really get shocked at.
That you get away with?
Yeah, like In Hot Water with Gino and Aaron, the 2 great guys, good comics, and they do a show, and I'll be listening sometimes and go like, oh my God, I'm offended. I'm outraged.
He's got a book out called Permanently Suspended. Anthony had this job. Then he got fired from Opie and Anthony because of some tweets he put out about a woman who was assaulting him. And, he's a guy who is, you have chosen to speak the way you want to speak and say what you want to say, regardless of the consequences. And, there are very few people. It's frustrating now, but time will show you as time goes on. People look back at those people like heroes and free speech pioneers, and you are, whether you realize it or not, one of those guys.
Yeah, it ended up working out. Like I thought, well, that's it. Yeah. That was my last utterance on any kind of airwaves or broadcasting, and it worked out as to be something bigger than I thought it would be. I just figured I'd go on the internet and spout off every day, and that was it. And then we built something with we got about 10 shows now, always building and looking for more. And and it's just absolutely open to whatever we want to talk about in any kind of language you want to talk about. I'm completely unapologetic. I've been in trouble so many times, and I know what happens. You're forced to apologize, and then they lop your head off anyway.
Yeah.
especially in this day and age. It's crazy. They force you to give this just horrible, over-the-top apology. From the bottom of my heart, I sincerely apologize. If I've offended anyone, all that garbage, and then they fire you and exile you from the business anyway. So I was like, I'm not going to be that. You want to fire me, fine, but I will never apologize for something I said. I know every apology is insincere. No one means it.
Well, they're not sorry for. They're sorry they got in trouble. They're not sorry that what they said originally. What they said.
Yeah. Whenever I hear somebody say that, it's like, you just said this yesterday, and now you're apologizing for it. Your whole mindset doesn't change in a day. You still believe what you said, or you still think it's funny, or whatever. And now a day later, you're apologizing and saying it was terrible that you said that. What's changed in a day? Oh, right. You're probably going to be fired.
My call for you after you got fired was because you are so opinionated, and the thing is, you don't even have to be. And I don't mean you. I just mean in general. You don't have to be right. If you believe so strongly in your opinion and you're able to convey that and you stay with it, you become sort of an expert. People come to you now for that opinion. I thought for sure Fox News was going to pick you up for something, a later night thing, a young audience thing. But do you think because of some of the things you've done and said before, you're untouchable to that kind of audience or that kind of show?
Yeah, I think so. In this day and age, there's a segment of society out there that just is addicted to outrage, and if a mainstream media company tried to hire me or other controversial people like Gavin McInnes and a few other people out there, they just do nothing but make phone calls and threaten boycotts and protest, and the companies usually fold when nothing really comes to fruition. It's a few mental patients outside of a place, like last night at Barnes & Noble. I did a book signing there last night,
right?
And there were probably 3 people out front that just looked emotionally disturbed, and they had signs, no white supremacy at Barnes & Noble. I'm like, what? Sicilian. I'm barely white myself.
This is Anthony Cumia. His book is called Permanently Suspended. You can get it on Amazon. I'm looking at it right now. You remember the band Skid Row?
Oh, yeah.
Skid Row was hugely popular when I was in high school. They opened up for Bon Jovi at Giant Stadium, and then like most bands, they hated their lead singer and they broke up. And so many bands have done that over the years, and Journey did it, but yet they've had huge success with their new singer. Skid Row is still playing 500-seat venues because they hate Sebastian Bach so much. They would rather be poor and playing 500-seat venues than bring Sebastian Bach in the band. Is that how it is with you and Opie? That you would rather never play a Giant Stadium again than do a show with Opie?
It's that's a pretty good take. I've used, like Guns N' Roses the way before they do get together.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses at least sat down and went, all right, we need to quit bitching about this. We can make $20 million a year doing a couple of shows and still not talk to each other. I know what it's like to work with somebody for a long time and hate them. I like Opie. He's been very good to me. I've been on his show.
Sure.
He's a good dude to me. And but I think of course I'm speaking from a fan's point of view. No matter how much you dislike each other, eventually I feel like something is going to happen with the two of you, because at one time that Mercurio was in your studio and you and Opie were on the air together, everybody loved it, and I think you two loved it too. Yeah,
it was cool. It was I have no problem with him coming on my show, me going on his show. I would do it in a second. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah,
he just would never do it. he tends to hold a grudge, and I don't know for what. He's a very complicated guy, and after 20 years, you're in the same room every day with somebody for 20 years. It's rough. You really start wearing on each other.
Everybody in this room shaking their head in agreement with you.
Yeah. You just start getting on each other's nerves and whatnot. But like you said, I was good with signing a 5-year. I'd have signed a 10-year deal with Sirius XM. I was fine. Yeah. Go in, you work, you leave, you make money. Radio isn't anything different. I've done jobs in construction where I couldn't stand 5 people to 8, 10 people that I've worked with, but I had to go in every day. So who cares if it's radio? And it's the same thing. If it's working and you're making some cash, why not?
Yeah, well, hey, look, it's smart way to think about it. I do want to thank you for really turning me on to some guys who have become great friends of ours and great guests of our show. I'm actually flying up to go to Robert Kelly's house for Thanksgiving. Guys like Bobby, Rich Voss, certainly cool. Jim Norton. I mean, they, for some reason, I did not have exposure to them in the Southeast, that I had to get it from listening to you guys. And I think that's great what you guys did for comedians. And I try to continue in doing the same thing with bringing comedians on. And of course, for years of great radio, Anthony's book is called Permanently Suspended. He's a very funny guy. He's very intelligent. And I think if you like this show, you would certainly like reading the book. And it's great to have you on, my man.
Thanks, man. Very cool. And over the course of the years, you've been awesome. And it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm telling you, I still watch you to see what's next. There's always going to be something next.
Yeah, that is true. I got the show now with Dave Landau, who's a funny comic. Yeah, funny young guy, really cool, and he works out great as a co-host. So good. Yeah, we're still chugging away.
Well, that's great. Anthony Cumia, check out his radio show and the book Permanently Suspended. Good to talk to you, my man. Let's catch up again soon.
Thanks. Absolutely, man.
All right, pal. Take it easy.
Have
there you go.
Thanksgiving.
You too, buddy. Take it easy. Anthony Cumia. I have to go pee since about when Dom was here, so let's take a quick break. It's a Mike Calta show. It's 102.5 The Bone.
The Mike Calta Show on 102.5 The